again, I should mention, this movie is 2 hours and 10 minutes long. And I'm not usually a guy that complains about runtime, but man, they could have trimmed some fat somewhere in this one.
Yeah. Obviously we're at the end of the movie here, so we're going to be talking about what we overall think of it. But I'm going to say, like, even though I enjoyed that car chase scene, they really didn't need the multiple attacks on the prison in Beirut. The first one's not really an attack so much as like an undercover, like, we're going to get information, then the priest is killed and it becomes an action scene, a car chase. But I think they could have gotten rid of that and really just had the go from Algiers to everybody is attacking the prison, including Lee Marvin and Steve James and all these guys. They really didn't need all of that. There's the cutaways when the Delta Force is just getting there. They're getting there. And I understand, listen, it's a long flight from Fort Bragg to Beirut or to Algiers, wherever the hell they're going, but we don't need to see all that. And I mean, those cutaways don't, it's not 20 minutes or anything, but we didn't need all of that. And I think there's that scene that I actually thought was genuinely weird where after the Delta Force has failed for the second time, they show them like training where they're like boarding a plane and shooting people or shooting like dummies or whatever, you know, these cardboard cutout like target things. And again, it's a really brief scene. But do we even need to see them training? I actually don't think they should have shown that because that makes it seem like they're just wasting their time. I feel like immediately after Algiers, they should be on their way to Beirut. They shouldn't have to stop to train. And then also, the logistics of it. Do they expect to be attacking those people on the plane again? They're not. The plane's done. Everybody's at the Beirut prison. Nobody's on the plane anymore. We don't need to. The plane is irrelevant.
No, yeah,
until they get back on it and take off. But
the plane becomes a total afterthought.
Right. I mean, yeah. So, anyways, Jared, what did you think of the Delta Force?
I shudder to think what the two sequels, one of which was directed by Chuck Norris's brother.
God.
And the third one stars Chuck Norris's son. So just a lot of rank nepotism. I shudder to think how much more like turgid and uninspiring those could be. Because like this one, for being a ripoff of like other action movies and from being from a company with like a certain reputation, was just not a lot of fun, which is what like was kind of confusing to me. Like, because Chuck Norris is just, like, so serious and so stiff. And since he's the center and everything is orbiting around him, like, it just makes everything feel so flat.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll be perfectly honest. I'm not surprised to learn, but I did not know there were sequels to this movie. For those of you listening, don't worry. The sequels are not on our list. We will not be covering them. But I certainly don't want to after hearing that little blurb. But, yeah, I think Chuck Norris holds this movie back. An actor with more personality would have obviously helped. In my experience watching canon action movies, the Chuck Norris ones are the most dull. The Death Wish movies and you know all the Charles Bronson movies, I like those movies. I tend to like them. I find them a lot more fun than this. I think Chuck Norris is boring. He's not a great action star, ironically, because I think he's, to someone that doesn't know better, who might think he's like in that top tier of action stars, and he's nowhere near Arnold or Stallone or Eastwood or Connery or whoever.
And I wonder,
Keanu Reeves.
I wonder if a differentiating thing too is that unlike those guys, like he thinks he actually is some of these characters he's playing, because I was reading a quote of his where he was talking about, like, Rambo and how part of Rambo was unrealistic. And he's talking about it as if he is a guy that, like, fought in, like, Vietnam himself. And it's like, you're just an actor, man. Like, you know that, right? You know you're not, like, this guy that you're playing in these movies.
I see. I don't know much about Chuck Norris's personal life or anything. For all I know, he could have been a Vietnam veteran. I really didn't know.
He was in the Air Force as like an air policeman. But that was in like the 50s. He didn't see any combat or anything like that.
Chuck Norris, lack of personality. I think even Steve James, I think if had he been the lead, I would have enjoyed that more. But the movie is too long, I think, and it has those two distinct halves. And I'm going to say I enjoyed the first half a good deal.
Same.
I liked the stuff on the plane. I'm not saying it's because it's because Chuck Norris was barely involved in the first half, but that it is worth noting. And then, the second half, I really didn't. I enjoyed the action in bursts, but it was like it was on a different level. Like the first half has you thinking like this could be a genuinely like good action thriller, like a poor man's Die Hard, and then the second half is just kind of schlocky action and rocket launchers launched from motorcycles. Like it's fun on the, like the dumbest level possible. But the first movie had you thinking this movie could have more to it than just that. So I would say that the title and kind of the movie's reputation just being a Chuck Norris military action movie, I would say I was expecting the entire movie basically to be the second half. And I was very pleasantly surprised that the first half was nothing like that, but then the second half was kind of like, oh, this is what I thought the movie was going to be. So overall, I'm going to say like it's okay. I didn't. It's all right. There's plenty of things wrong with it. Overall, I did somewhat enjoy it. I thought it's a passable action movie. It's not up there with the classics, but you could do far worse. Is kind of how I'm coming away.
I think that's fair enough.